Broadcasting from Silicon Valley, California, this is Conversations with Jennylyn.
You're watching Conversations with Jennylyn, and as I continue my COVID-19 world interview series, I could not exclude Barbados. And today I have a very beautiful young woman, in many ways beautiful, to join us and tell us about her life in Barbados during COVID-19 and what she has observed with the people around her. Beyanker Peterkin, thank you so much for joining Conversations with Jennylyn.
Hi, Jennylyn. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. I am not originally Barbadian, but I've been living in Barbados for about 15 years on and off. So I'm an honorary Barbadian.
You are.
Yes, so this is second home. I'm from Guyana, like yourself, and half of my family lives here.
Okay. So
I've been to university and I work here, I live here. So it's home now. So Barbados, well, we've recorded 87 cases so far, 87 confirmed cases, COVID-19 cases. And they've done well over 2,000 tests. And I would say it's pretty much contained. Like, I think the government and the Prime Minister of Barbados are doing a pretty good job in containing this virus. 50-something people have recovered, and we've experienced 7 deaths so far.
Great, only 7.
Yes, and there are currently 20 people still in isolation, and there are 2 isolation facilities on the island that they're treating the COVID-19 patients. Rihanna, who is a Barbadian, she's donated quite a bit. Yes, she's donated quite a bit to the island, for them to be prepared. We experienced our first confirmed case in March, I believe it's March 6th or March 7th. I think I should have it somewhere here. March 16th. Yes, that was our first recorded case. And then the island pretty much went into shutdown a few weeks after that. And we are still currently on a curfew, but a lot of the restrictions have been lifted. The Prime Minister is trying to reopen the country, but it's happening in phases. Well, I'm in real estate. So
tell us a little bit about, before we move on to your career, isn't Rihanna's mother also from Guyana?
Yes, she's originally from Guyana.
Some good stuff has come out of Guyana. Would you agree?
I agree, yeah, definitely.
But that is great that she's helping out her home country during this crisis. I'm really impressed with that.
Yes, she's done a tremendous job in contributing towards the preparedness. And, I think we do have enough equipment, medication, testing kits to deal with the crisis here. As you know, Barbados, like many of the other Caribbean islands, we're very heavily dependent on tourism. And now, because tourism has pretty much ceased worldwide, economically, Barbados is expected to suffer in the future. There are quite a few people who've lost jobs, who've been laid off, who have no income coming in. In my career, because as I was about to say, I worked for Barbados Sotheby's, so that's real estate, and we primarily deal with luxury real estate. So that industry has taken quite a hit. With the phased reopening of the country, our office hasn't been reopened as yet, but we're working from home as much as we can. I'm still communicating with my clients because most of my clients are outside of Barbados. They're not locals. And, I've been trying to do virtual tours as much as I can. but no income is being earned in this industry at the moment. We're hoping for maybe later on in the year or 2020 that things would start to pick up again. But, it's highly unlikely that travel will resume to where it was anytime soon. So quite a few industries have suffered. In Barbados, the hotels are empty, the airport, nobody's at the airport. The cruise industry has suffered tremendously. And then all the subsidiary industries that are dependent on tourism, like the restaurants, the bars. Yeah, we've pretty much taken a hit. I'm not quite sure how real estate will bounce back after this. According to the Prime Minister, Mia Mottley, this is the worst. This is predicted. She predicts that this is going to be the worst economic hit since World War II.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
that's probably not a unique fact to Barbados. I have a feeling that a lot of countries are going to experience similar type economic crises due to this COVID-19. I didn't realize that your chief moneymaker in Barbados was tourism. Do you have any exports or anything else that the country depends on for revenue?
No, not really. Tourism. That's basically the main industry here. Barbados used to be a sugar producing country, and we used to export sugar back in the day, but that has pretty much dried up. So it's tourism, all the rest. Yeah.
Wow. So does your government have any programs in place to help families? And what type of distance learning programs do you have for school kids, if any?
Yes, well, the Prime Minister, Mia Mottley, has, I don't have the exact details. I mean, that will be published online, but they do have what they call an economic relief strategy in terms of, well, there are different segments to that. There are different facets. There is, they're pumping money into vulnerable families, whose households, their income is pretty much dried up. They're pumping money into welfare, into businesses. They're getting VAT cuts. There's something in place for the banks where, people that have mortgages, they're getting a break.
That's great. Are
Yeah.
they getting deferred payments, or are they just allowing it to have free?
Yeah, deferred payments. And I suppose the banks will have a payment plan going forward. And, like people who rent properties, they're given a break. Landlords are not allowed at this time to evict any tenants.
Yes.
A lot of landlords, because they've been given an ease through the banks with the mortgages, they're able to, either cut the rent or defer payments. So yeah, she's put quite a bit in place in terms of the economic status of the island and people who've lost their jobs and that sort of thing. I mean, there's that. And then, what I've been seeing is this crisis has created quite a bit of, people are being creative in terms of how they're earning income. Like I have one friend, she owns a clothing store, and now she's selling ground provisions.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Does she have a farm?
Well, I think she buys from the farmers. So the small farmers, there's still income coming in for them because, people are buying, people are doing delivery services, so people are being creative. I have a friend in the real estate business. She's making masks and selling them, like
that's awesome.
very nice, fashionable masks.
Is it mandatory that you wear masks in Barbados as well when you go in the streets? Is this mandatory?
Well, it's not mandatory, but it's advised. They have advised the public. So pretty much everybody has been wearing a mask. And I think the supermarkets, if not all, most, it is mandatory to enter the building. You have to wear a mask. But I guess they've made that decision on their own. Yeah, so pretty much everybody is wearing a mask on the island. We're still on a curfew, even though the restrictions have been lifted a bit. So I think it's between 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. We were on 2 weeks ago, we were on a complete shutdown where all businesses except the essential services, which would include supermarkets and pharmacies, that sort of service, they were opened to a certain time, but then there's the alphabetical, or they implemented an alphabetical system where you're only allowed to go to the supermarkets or the pharmacies or the gas stations on your day according to the first letter of your last name. That
was tough. If you ran out of something, you just had to wait.
Yeah, you pretty much had to survive on what you had or plan ahead. You had 2 days of the week that you could do your shopping. Well, we still have that is still in place, even though a lot of businesses have been reopened. But we're still under, and Barbados is such a beautiful island, and we're known for our beaches here, but we're not really allowed to go to the beaches. They've only recently reopened the beaches last week, but you can only go between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. You have a few hours, and then you have to be back home.
Practice social distancing.
Yes, definitely. You have to, practice social distancing, 6 feet apart, no large gatherings, no groups, no parties, we call them.
Are people being compliant?
For the most part, yes, especially now because they have some strict sanctions in place. I think if you're caught outside of curfew or you're caught gathering in large groups, there is a fine of a maximum of 50,000 Barbados, which is 25,000 US. Yeah.
Wow.
So some people have already been charged for breaking curfew. So,
are you kidding me?
Yes, so we have some serious sanctions.
Do you think they were just ignorant, or do you think they just wanted to be defiant?
It may be a combination of both, I believe. Because in the beginning, for sure, some people, not everyone, some people were being defiant. In the Caribbean, we love to party. We love to what we call line.
This question was burning on the tip of my tongue. I was waiting for you to stop to ask you, because I know you are part of that party circle.
Yeah, well, I love to socialize.
What's it like for you now to not be able to go out and socialize? What is that like? What does that feel like? What is that looking like and playing out? How is it playing out?
Well, I've learned to adapt. I understand the consequences of not practicing social distancing, not adhering to what the government has put in place. I understand the consequence, not only the fine, you either pay $50,000 or you spend 12 months in jail. So not only that, I don't want to contract COVID-19, I may be okay if I contract it, but then I have loved ones that may be vulnerable. My niece, she just recently, last week, she got a newborn baby. Obviously, I would want to see the baby, so I definitely have to practice social distancing. I have some loved ones that may have illnesses that, would make them vulnerable. So yeah, I've definitely, it's not that hard for me because I know the consequences. And then we're in the age where we have Zoom, we have WhatsApp, video calling, so I recently had a dinner party with some friends via Zoom. We cooked our own meals. We're not able to go to restaurants, but we can see each other and make the best of the situation, Now
you have to do what you have to do.
Yeah.
Have you sold any homes since this has started? Have you sold any properties since this virus has started?
No, not since. I mean, I have some deals that are in progress and they've slowed down a bit because of the shutdowns, but I still have some deals that now that the government has eased some of the restrictions and some of the government offices and the lawyers' offices are open, some of my deals are going through now. But I don't know when will be the next time that I will secure another sale going forward. There are some clients that see this as an opportunity to buy homes and be more negotiable, you know, get better prices. So there are quite a few people that are inquiring. But as I said, a lot of my clientele are from overseas. Most of our clients are from the UK. So it's not like they can travel here to come and view a property. And there are not a lot of people that are going to look at a virtual tour and decide, yes, I'm going to buy this house, this multi-million-dollar house.
Is Barbados still a British territory?
No. Barbados has been independent. I don't remember but they've been independent for quite some time. Yeah.
So is someone outside of Barbados allowed to buy property there?
Yes, definitely. You can buy property here. You also have access to the mortgages in a couple of the financial institutions here. Yep, sure. We have a big chunk of our market are expats, and they have second homes here because Barbados is such a big holiday destination. A lot of people purchase holiday homes here where they rent out in the busy season, and you know, they come and they spend time with their family here when they're on island. So yeah, definitely.
What type of tax ramifications does someone incur if they're buying a property in Barbados and they live somewhere else?
Well, it would be the same as a local.
Okay.
So you're not, the only difference that a non-national and a non-resident in Barbados experiences compared to a local is if you're gonna finance the purchase. But the same land tax, the same property taxes, everything is the same. You don't pay anything different.
Okay, so your company that you work for must be international, because we have that same company here, unless it's a company with the same name by coincidence. Is your company international?
Yes, definitely. Sotheby's international. So we're the franchise holders in Barbados. So there's a Sotheby's in quite a few countries in the world. It's quite a big brand. So, you know, that's why we attract a lot of international clientele, because they're familiar with the brand.
Sorry, I'm sorry. You were
That's
saying,
okay.
do you ever see yourself going back to live in Guyana?
Well, most of my family has migrated. Like my mom doesn't live in Guyana anymore. I have 3 siblings that are in Guyana. 4 siblings that are in Guyana, and I moved back to Guyana for a couple of years, a few years ago. But you know, I guess I've moved on. I don't know. I mean, who knows? You know, you never know what the future holds. Guyana is supposed to have a bright future. We have to wait and see how that plays out. Now that we have oil, they've discovered oil. There's quite
it's worth nothing now. I was thinking about how sad it is. As soon as they found oil in Guyana, the oil prices just sort of fell into the
dips. Yeah, definitely.
I was thinking, wait a minute, when did oil become valueless? The day Guyana found oil.
I know. Well, hopefully this is just a temporary situation. We just have to wait and see, you know. I still have high hopes for my country. They were predicted to be one of the fastest growing economies this year before the whole COVID-19 thing came on the scene, you know. So who knows?
Do you feel like your country will remove all of their restrictions shortly, because you totally depend only on tourism? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I think Yes, they have been doing it in phases, and I think eventually, I don't know whether things will ever fully go back to normal, but I think eventually most businesses will be reopened, or all. But we have to, they've implemented quite a few rules and regulations in terms of how those businesses are to be operated. Now, my company, the whole real estate sector, is scheduled to reopen on the 18th of this month. But, you know, they have implemented, whoever can work from home should work from home. If you have to go to the office for any reason, only a skeleton staff will be in the office. Everybody will be masked up, everything sanitized. If you have to visit the office, there are going to be temperature checks. You know, your hands will be sprayed with sanitizer. It's, you know, a lot of things have been put into place. So, you know, normally I would pick up a lot of my clients because, as I said, they're overseas based, so I pick them up from their hotel or their villa or whatever their accommodation is, and take them on viewings to see property. Now, that might change a bit. Going forward, our clients will be asked to wear masks and we'll have hand sanitizers. As much as possible, we'll ask our clients to meet us wherever or follow us in our cars. You know, so there's quite a few things put in place in terms of that. Like even at the hospitals, like I said, my niece recently gave birth and only one person was allowed to visit her. So we still haven't seen the baby.
Oh, you've seen her on Zoom though. Was it a baby girl or boy?
A boy.
Weren't you able to see him on Zoom? No?
Yeah, on Zoom.
Okay.
But not in person. Yeah.
Yes.
So things are definitely changing, you know. People are celebrating my sister's birthday was on Saturday. We had to do Zoom calls, you know, so things are changing. I mean, it's definitely a different way of living going forward.
So we haven't talked about your education system. Are the schools closed? And if they are, what type of distance learning programs is your government offering?
Yes, well, physically schools are closed, but they recently reopened. The private schools were reopened first because they implemented the, I think it's Google Classroom. And then last Monday, the public schools were reopened. So children are learning from at home on Google Classroom. Yeah.
That's great. I know some countries I interviewed in the Caribbean, they told me the government provided free internet and people made donations of computers for the families who didn't have, so the children could, you know, participate in the distance learning. Was that something you're aware of, that your government also provided?
Yes, well, I know there were private individuals that started drives to donate devices to homes where kids didn't have access to devices. And the government has also done that. In terms of the internet, I'm not quite sure what was put in place for that. But I know, if not all, most kids have access to devices.
What has Beyanker learned about herself during this crisis?
Well, I've definitely learned that I can bake.
But you can bake?
I can bake, yes.
That's great. You've been baking a lot?
I've been baking a lot. I've been baking all sorts, carrot cakes, corn pies, cookies, you know. So that's kind of like my therapy. That's been therapeutic for me. I've been trying to exercise a bit. I've also learned that I work better under pressure. Now that I have all this time, I'm such a procrastinator when it comes to my work, and I definitely have to work on putting my frame mind and getting into that frame mind where I have to set a schedule, get up in the morning, check my emails, you know, communicate with clients. So that's been a bit of a challenge for me, but I like I'm used to being on the grind, on the go, having to go to this meeting, this client, this viewing, you know. So I find that I work better under pressure. Yeah, and being alone and isolated is not that bad after all. Sometimes you need to take time out to reflect and just, you know, give yourself a break, relax, you know. And
Are you living alone?
well, my boyfriend is here with me. Yeah, we live.
You have a
Yeah,
son, don't you?
yeah. Well, he's in the UK at the moment.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
he's not with you.
No.
Well, because I know that a lot of people are finding out either they like living alone or living alone is not so great. But if you have someone with you, hopefully it's someone you enjoy being with, and it's your
Yes.
boyfriend. So clearly this is someone you enjoy being with.
Yes.
So it makes
Yeah.
it a little bit easier. But I've been thinking about people who are stuck in one building, large numbers of people. I can't imagine what that must be like.
I know. I really can't either. And you know, statistics show that there are households where the instances of domestic abuse has spiked. You know, it's quite sad. You know, there are people that have to get out of the house as some form of escape, and you know, I wonder how they're coping under these circumstances. It's a tough situation all around, you know.
It is, and I think it's there are lessons in it for everyone. So you've learned that you can bake. That's what you've learned. What are you going to do differently when we get back to whatever the new norm is going to be? Because I suspect the new norm is going to be different from anything we knew before. I feel that people may probably just automatically be keeping distance from other people. And we've heard that we may not be able to hug anymore, which is going to be tough for me because I'm naturally a hugger. What are you going to do different?
Yeah, well, definitely. I'm naturally a hugger as well. You know, simple things that we take for granted, which I think are part of humanity, like maybe shaking hands. You see a friend or a relative and you hug or you give them a kiss. Things like that is definitely, I'm going to definitely be sanitizing more, you know, wiping down my groceries for sure. I think I'm going to be doing that indefinitely. Yeah, and I think also I've been thinking, because this COVID-19 has affected the economy so much, it's so important to have different streams of income as well, you know. So that's another thing that I have been thinking about and coming up with different ideas and that kind of thing. So basically I think those are the main things that I'm going to change going forward.
Someone watching this interview, as a realtor, I would imagine you know the island pretty well because you sell real estate. What would you say to them? What would be one of the reasons you would encourage them to come to Barbados? How would you entice them?
Well, Barbados has been, I don't remember where I saw this list, but Barbados has been listed as one of the safer places to be during this pandemic. You know, I don't know if this is confirmed as yet. You know, obviously they still have research to do, but they're saying that the virus has a lesser likelihood of surviving in the heat, in warmer climates. So I think, you know, those are two main factors to come to Barbados and buy real estate. It's definitely going to be more affordable now. You know, we predict that going forward. And Barbados is just a beautiful place. You know, like who wouldn't want to be here?
Are the Gaspery Caves? No, those are in Trinidad. What would be some of the highlights that you would encourage someone coming to visit for the first time to make sure they check out?
Well, the beaches, like every part of the island, we have beautiful beaches. We have an amazing, one of the natural wonders in Barbados. It's a cave called the Harrison's Cave. It's absolutely stunning. So I always encourage people to go there to Harrison's Cave. It's actually not far from where I live. In my opinion, one of the most beautiful parts of the island is the furthest north of the island, where there's a cave called the Animal Flower Cave, but there is a ridge. It's called North Point, and it's just the most stunning view. Like, I can go there and spend the entire day and just look at the scenery. It's absolutely stunning. And then there's Bathsheba, which is on the east coast of the island. That's the more rugged, undeveloped part of the island, and there's windsurfing on that island, on that part of the island. People go there, they have picnics, they hang out. It's just a pretty rustic part of the island. What else would I encourage? There's just so many things. There's lots of really nice bars and restaurants that you can visit. St. Lawrence Gap on the south coast is like a street filled lined with bars, restaurants, that kind of thing. Well, our carnival, which is Crop Over.
I was going to ask you about that. Do you have a carnival?
Yes.
How does it compare to Trinidad and Brazil? Because they have the reputation for having the best carnivals. How does yours compare?
Well, it is not as big as Trinidad, but in the region, I would say it's the second biggest carnival. It's pretty much the same kind of parties that there are in Trinidad. They're here, but I would say Barbados is a more beautiful island because you can come for carnival, you can come for Crop Over, and then you can also combine that with a holiday. Visit the beaches, and that kind of thing. Trinidad doesn't really have the beaches that Barbados does. Rihanna is here quite a bit, so that in itself.
Does she visit often?
Yeah, she comes every other year to celebrate Crop Over, and she jumps down the street with the revelers. So a lot of people.
What is Crop Over?
Crop Over is that's what they call the carnival here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she goes to a lot of the parties, and she's just hanging out with people, So a lot of people. Sorry?
Have you ever seen her?
Yeah, I've met her a few times in person.
That's great.
When she's here, she's just like a regular person. That's why I think she likes to be home, because, she doesn't have the paparazzi, and maybe a few tourists might go up and ask for an autograph or whatever, but I think she feels freer here because everybody's used to her.
That's really great. That's
Yeah.
great that she visits, that she socializes with the natives, and that she is putting money into the Bajan economy. They call it Bajans or Barbadian. Which is the correct name?
So Barbadian is the correct name officially, but Barbadians refer to themselves as Bajans. I don't know where that came from. So that's kind of the local slang for a Barbadian, a Bajan.
Yeah. Well, I think this is great. I've learned so much about Barbados from you. I'm so happy we did this interview. We're almost out of time. So before I wrap up, what do you want to make sure you mention in this interview?
Well, I would say,
Call you up to buy a house, and what else?
Sorry? Say that again?
Call you up to purchase some property, and what else?
Yeah, definitely. Call me up to purchase some property. We have some beautiful property here in Barbados. I would say, this experience has taught me to be grateful for the simple things in life, like simple freedom of travel, going to the beach, being able to hug your loved ones, spending quality time with friends and family, just even being able to go to the supermarket is an outing, like simple things that we take for granted you know, it's kind of like a privilege. So it's like, just be grateful for what you have. You know, life can always be worse. There are lots of people, you're privileged. If you don't look at it as you're stuck at home, you're safe at home. You know, you have a home to be in, just be grateful. That's what I took from this entire experience. And come to Barbados.
And come to Barbados. I've been to Barbados a few times, and I do love the island, although I think your taxi drivers give me a heart attack.
Oh, yeah.
I have to say, they're some of the craziest drivers in the world that I've experienced.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's just a Bajan way, you know. That's island life for you.
I know. Beyanker, we're out of time. I am so full of gratitude. You've been a wealth of information, and I am very excited to know the island is not being as hard hit as many others. And I thank you so much for watching Conversations with Jennylyn. When a conversation is all you need to be inspired, like the one you just experienced with Beyanker and I. Stay safe and stay COVID-free.